Hello friends, welcome to today's lecture. Today's lecture is about the important topics that might come or that you should practice before going into IBPS PO 2019 descriptive section, mains exam, the descriptive section, right? Okay, so that's the idea of today, main idea of today, but that is not the only idea. We are going to build up towards that idea. So let's first look at the comprehensive agenda of today's lecture. Okay, so the agenda of today's lecture came from the hundreds of requests we got from your side about the topics that you should practice in the for the IBPS PO descriptive section. Now, at that point of time, what was going in my mind was how to make this lecture more relevant for you and essentially more helpful to you. Because you see, understand that when we look at only topics, when we talk about topics only, so that's a pretty one-page list that we can give to you. So how do we help you in a better way is something that was in my mind, and that's why what I decided is to make a comprehensive agenda in this particular lecture. So the first thing that we will address are the list of do's and don'ts in the next 20 to 21 days that is there in our hand. So in the course of next 20 days, what are the do's and the don'ts that should be a part that should be in your mind when while you are preparing for descriptive section. Okay, next, important lectures apart from this lecture, the important lectures that you should refer to. I am sure a lot of you have already referred to those lectures of ours, but if you haven't, they are the first thing to do. So I thought that I'll also put in front of you those lectures which are very important and you should have gone through before writing your descriptive section. Then the those topics, to glance through those topics, in this case I would be giving you 26 essay topics which I have over the course of the period of the last few months. I have accumulated these topics as topics that are more relevant and that are more important from the perspective of any exam that comes from now onwards, and 12 letter, so where the target has been to give it from diverse areas so that you have practice from every area that is possible. And if you notice, there is something else too, and that is lead points. In that point, you must have noticed that we will be also discussing the lead points of these topics. So what do we mean by that? What we mean by that is that I'll be giving you some pointers to think, to structure your thought process in a way so that you can write an exceptional essay or letter, right? You might use those lead points, or you might choose not to use those lead points or use something else. But what is the idea is to get you started. Obviously, if you have better lead points than what I give you here, you should use them and make a better essay out of it. But what is the purpose of giving these lead points to you is that so that it is ensured that first of all you are able to structure your essays and letters in a logical way rather than in a biased judgmental way, and I'll come to that in a moment. Okay, so what is the overall idea of this lecture? This lecture is to ensure that you don't do common mistakes. First of all, practice important topics, and that too in the right way. So these are the three major agenda, or the what I want you to take out from this lecture. So not only topics, yes, topics is an important part of this lecture, but these three things, I will be happy when you are able to take all these three advantages from this particular lecture. Okay, right? So and very importantly, let me tell you, I am not going to do the format part of essay, the format part of letter, or how to format the paras inside the essay, how to write the sentences, because we have done all that. and those are the lectures I'll be referring you to. So if you have gone through those lectures, you already know how to write effectively, how to put forward your point in a way so that it makes maximum impact, right? What we are going to do today is not that you would get from those lectures which I'll refer to. What we are going to do today is to look at those topics which have the most probability to come, and how to organize your thought process in those topics to write an efficient essay, okay, an effective essay rather. Okay, chalo. So let's look at the structure of the descriptive section first in IBPS. The structure, because see you so that we are all at the same page, because I'll be talking about time, I'll be talking about a lot of stuff, so we should all be knowing what we are facing. So we are facing essentially two activities. One is essay writing, another is letter writing, right? Now the total time is 30 minutes, but you should plan for only 25 minutes. Now this is very important. Though you have a total time of 30 minutes, it is always better to plan for a lesser time. Very simple, because you might, over the course of switching from one question to another question, over the course of making yourself ready to write, ready to think, those 5 minutes would go away and you would never even realize that those 5 minutes are gone. So it's better to plan for 25 rather than 30, so that we are in an advantageous position. So those who would plan for the whole 30, they would are in for a surprise, because they would end up without completing the whole task. You don't do that, okay? And how do we divide? Typically, because the essay writing is of more number of words, more time to the essay writing, that is 15 minutes, and 10 minutes to the letter writing. Now, having said that, don't be ready for surprises too. Yes, this is something that has been coming for the last few years: essay writing, letter writing, and the IBPS notification also talks about example essay writing, letter writing in descriptive section. But that never means that they might not give you something else, right? So if they give something else, and if you have followed the advice we have shared over the course of the lectures that we are going to share and this lecture, then you are ready for any writing activity, my friends. Any writing activity. So don't get into that panic mode. Let your competitors get into that panic mode. But you who have been with us for this long, you should not be in panic mode, because the basics of the writing, we have started from the basics of the writing. And when we have started from the basics of the writing, you are more than prepared for any writing activity that is placed in front of you. If it is essay and letter writing, well and good. Even if it is not essay and letter writing, go with the same amount of confidence that you would go with for an essay and letter writing. Okay, clear, right? The total marks is 25 marks, normally 15 marks for the essay and the 10 marks for the letter. Now, important things to remember. These are the do's and the don'ts. I told you that while making this lecture more useful for you, I thought about sharing some do's and don'ts, because these are some things that people don't really talk about, or don't really know, and you as students are not supposed to know about it. It is we, from the experience of various students committing the same mistake, that we can tell you this and we can share you this, and thereby saving your time, right? So if you follow these do's and don'ts, you will save a lot of time of yours. First of all, don't collect topics if you don't intend to write down those write on those topics. Don't make a list of topics, right? Don't collect material from here and there, these 50 topics, these 70 topics. Don't do that. That's a waste of time if you don't intend to write on them before your mains exam. Okay, first, don't. Second, don't gather a lot of data from internet. My dear friends, today having data is not a challenge. You just type in something on the internet and you will have data. So you not having data is something which is not going to happen. As a matter of fact, you are studying general awareness for the mains, and I am sure that whatever topic we are discussing today, you would have more data than an average person, or even an above average person, and obviously more than me or anyone else. So data is not a problem. The problem is something else, and we'll talk about that. And what is that? Please understand, It's a essay of 150 words or 200 words. It's a letter of 100 or 150 words. Do you need inordinate amount of data for that? No, you don't. Understand that. You don't need a lot of data to write a 200-word essay. As a matter of fact, people make the same mistake. They have so many data because you are studying general awareness in regular way. You have to have so many data to talk about in that particular topic. The challenge is to pick up 2 to 3 data points from that, elaborate on it, and build your argument based on that. This is where people fail in descriptive. Don't ever think that people fail in descriptive due to lack of data. No, my dear friends. Most people fail in descriptive because they do not know when to stop, where to stop, which data to choose, and which data to elaborate on. That's the pain point for most of the people who do not clear the descriptive. Right? Don't do that. And for that, you should stop doing immediately one thing if you are doing till now that, and that is reading sample essays. My dear friends, this is something which is the you know the this is something which would give you more negatives than positive. Stop reading sample essays. At this point of time, sample essays are not going to do you good. Rather, they are going to confuse you. They are going to do more harm. 6 months, 5 months, 4 months back, when I told you, that you should be preparing for descriptive, then reading the sample essays was a good thing to do. But today, we want you to form an argument by yourself. In that, if you are reading multiple sample essays, you would be influenced by them, and your own thought process would be hindered in the process, because you do not have enough time to gather your thought process or develop your thought process. Why do we study sample essays? If we are studying sample essays to get an idea of how to write and then practice ourselves to make ourselves good at it, then it is okay. But that is not the time now. That was 2 3 months back. Today, why we study sample essay, I will tell you. I mean, or students study sample essay, they are trying to copy. That if this topic comes, I will just copy, mug up. I mean, we are good at mugging up. We think, we all think that we are good at mugging up. We'll just mug up and write down who this thing, and create an impression out of it. But my dear friends, the moment you do that, there will be inconsistency in your writing, because whatsoever you try, you cannot kill yourself. You cannot make your own opinion, idea, or argument go down completely. Okay, so what would happen? Your idea, your argument would seep in somewhere in the essay, even if you have memorized something and written it down. And then there would be in stark contrast, which would create inconsistency in the passage or the writing, and you would suffer for that. So don't go on reading sample essays. Rather, write a lot of essays. How to write, you would know. I'll give you those lectures, and if you have gone through those lectures, you will already know how to write it, and you will get 1 or 2 sample essays. Also would have an idea how to go through it. But reading a lot of sample essay, very, very, very bad choice of activity at this point of time. It's a time losing activity. So don't read a lot of sample essays. You don't need a lot of data, so you don't need to hunt for data here and there, 150 200 words. You just need 2 to 3 data points and done. And if you want to read 1 2 sample essay to just get an idea that how you would format your thought processes into arguments, that's fine. But do not read 10 15 20 sample essays, because that would cloud your ability to write an argument by yourself. Is it clear? Okay, right? So these were things that I wanted to share with you. Now let's look at some of the important lectures first, and then we will move on to the important topics. Okay, right? Chalo. First lecture is the IBPS PO 2018 Descriptive Writing, Solving the Challenges. So here we have discussed some of the basic challenges that every writer faces at the start of writing, and especially in professional writing, as you would be doing here. So you'll have an idea about it. You can relate to it. If there are some problems that you are facing at this point of time, you would relate to it, and you would get the solution from that. So you'll also give you an idea about what to focus on in the lectures that have been referred to in it. So there are some lectures that has been referred to in this particular lecture. You'll get an idea about what to focus on it. You might go through all the lectures that have been referred to here. If you don't have time, don't go through all the lectures. And if you haven't gone through, if you have already gone through, that's all right. But if you don't have time, don't go through all the lectures, but still go through the lectures that I am going to refer you next. Some of these lectures have already been mentioned in this particular lecture, that is this lecture 1. But but if you don't have time to go through all the lectures that has been referred in his, please go through the lectures that is coming up next. Okay. Lecture number 2, which is Writing Skills 1, How to Prepare Essays and Writing Assessment Test WAT. This is the title of the lecture. This lecture, how would it help you? What are the salient features of this lecture? This lecture talks about the basics of content building. See, a lot of you have been so afraid about how to write content, as if an essay is about sharing as much content in those 150 words. Wrong. I have already told you, an essay is about building an argument on whatever content you are sharing. It is not about listing content like a newsreader. No. Okay. So focus on less content, and how to build up that content, how to choose which is the most important content, is what this lecture would do for you. Not only that, it will also tell you how to write in an ordered and effective way. This lecture will not only be relevant for essays, but also for any type of descriptive writing. And that's why I said, you remember that don't worry, even if they change the pattern, even if essays don't come or later don't come, you don't need to worry. If you go through what I tell you, you are more than prepared for it. Okay, right? Lecture number 3, Letter Writing SBI PO 2017 Online Classes #day 14 to Mains. So this is the lecture of letter writing. How would this help you? This will give you the format of formal and informal letter. You can follow it and write your letters likewise. Things to remember while writing letters, this will give you pointers to that. And based on this and the concept discussed in the last 2 lectures, you should start your practice. Clear? Okay. So these are the 3 most important lectures. There is another lecture that we will talk about, but at the end of giving you the topics. So now, before the important topics come in front of you, let me tell you what we have tried to do in this list of topics. First of all, so first part of our journey is over. What to do's, what not to do's. As a matter of fact, 2 important things are over. What to do's, what not to do. Then the important lectures that you must have gone through. And now we are going to the last part of our journey, which are the important topics and some pointers on those important topics. Okay, right? But before that, let me have some disclaimers so that you understand with what mindset you should approach these list of topics. First, you have you have asked for a list of topics, so we have tried to make a comprehensive list, right? We have compiled topics from across issues. But having said that, don't expect same topics, and there will be no fun in that also, because if you have get the same topic, you will not be enjoying the process of writing something new. As a matter of fact, we have gone through all kinds of issues that are relevant in the modern scenario to build up the topics. But what should be more important for you is that after practicing through all these topics, you yourself are capable and confident enough to use yourself as a weapon to write on any topic. right? And very confidently. So that's what I want at the end result. I don't want to spoon feed you every topic. I'll give you the list of topics, and I want you that through practice of these topics in the way I have discussed in the lectures that I have referred to, through the practice of these topics, you generate in yourself a capability which would help you to write on any topic, right, confidently and enjoyingly. I mean, you would enjoy that also. So the for you should follow the instructions in the above lectures, and that is a very simple thing. In the next 20 days you will be a master of writing, at least professional writing. I'm not talking about creative writing, but at least professional writing you would be a master. And as I told you, with practice you will be comfortable with all types of targets, so that topics. So that is our target. So writing exceptionally on any topic whenever you want and wherever it is required. That is, that's a much bigger target than just IBPS PO mains descriptive, because if you achieve that, IBPS PO mains will become a byproduct. You would excel in it without any doubt. Clear? Okay, okay, chalo. So let's start off with the topics now. The first slide, relevant topics for essay. This is in addition to the IBPS 2018 lecture list, which lecture we are talking about will give you at the end of the list of topics. Okay. The first topic, how is merger of public sector banks going to affect the economy at large and banking industry in particular? This is a topic which is very relevant in the current context, because you see in 2019 we saw Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank being merged into the BOB. Okay, and then there was this announcement that in 2020 10 banks would be converted to 4 banks, where the anchor banks would be PNB, Canara, Union Bank and Indian Bank, right? So this is the basic data point, and based on this basic data point and your understanding of the banking sector, build up your argument directed towards how is it going to affect the economy and banking industry. Understand, be consistent with the topic. A lot of times I have seen that students in their motivation to give a lot of points end up being inconsistent with the topic. Don't do that. Use 2 to 3 points, but be consistent with the topic. Okay, right? So argue whether how it is going to affect the economy in a positive way or a negative way. How is it going to affect the banking industry in a positive way, in a negative way, with data, and most importantly with your logic, with your reason, right? Second, is Motor Vehicle Amendment Bill 2019 unfair to middle class? Now, motor vehicle amendment bill or act that has been implemented, that how it is affecting. I mean, a lot of states have not implemented it, but in the states that have implemented it, in the first 7 days there was so many hue and cry about the excessive fine that it was taking. So there are you might take any stand, because this is the question. See, the first two are questions. So at the end of the conclusion, you might take any stand based on the data and the argument that you have provided. You can say at the end of the while you are concluding, so that we can conclude that yes, it is unfair to the middle class, or you can say that though some aspect of it is unfair, seem to be unfair, but overall it is necessary for our society. So you can take any conclusion, but remember, and this is very important, that do not start with the conclusion. Then it becomes your opinion and not a conclusion. A lot of people I have seen have started their essay, yes, the Motor Vehicle Act is unfair to middle class. The first sentence or in the introduction only they have given their judgment. That's not done, my friends. You have to argue for your case, and at the end say why you think so. Sorry, what you think. Why should come first? What should come later? Right? So what do you think? If it comes first, then it becomes a judgmental, biased way approach of writing. Don't do that. Okay, right? So for example, you can take examples, but limit your examples to 2 and 3. For example, in case of minors being given vehicle in this act, we find the fine is up to 25,000 that has been introduced, which was very less in the last one. Up till now. So you can argue for and against whatever you want, but be very sure to keep your conclusion for the end. Ways of, third topic, ways of increasing financial literacy in illiterate masses. So, in the context of India, let's say, for example, it comes in the context of India. This is not in context of India, but if you want to argue it in the context of India, you can. So in illiterate masses, how do we increase financial literacy? So the first thing that you should do in the introduction is to define or explain what is financial literacy, and then explain the challenges in the crowd with respect to the crowd, and then talk about the solution. So this, so the challenges and the solution would become the part of the body, and what is financial literacy would become the part of the introduction. So this is how you can structure. If you have a better structure in your mind, you can always go on for with it. Fourth one, privacy is the cost of security. Now this is, first of all, you need to discuss, explain what is privacy, what is security, from the perspective of society, from the perspective of individual. This is introduction. Then move on to where do they clash, and is there a middle way. Now this becomes the part of the body, right? Clash points, middle path, or the solution, this becomes the part of the body. Obviously you can give examples of police snooping, examples of whatever you remember at that point of time, but please understand that if you have less data on it, that does not mean that if you do not have the capability of write a very good essay on this topic. No, 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 no. Because your ability to reason out something is not only slave to your data, it is also dependent upon your common sense and argumentative capabilities, which through critical reasoning, through RC practice, through your reading so much of GA, I am sure you have built it to a notch higher than what it was 6-7 months back, right? Okay, next, pros and cons of abrogating Article 370 and 35A. So first of all, write in 1 to 2 line about these two articles. What was their purpose? A little 1-2 line. Don't go into the history and make a historical khichdi out of it. Don't do that. Just a 1-2 line to introduce. Okay, they are not there to see how much do you know about the Kashmir issue, or how much do you know about. Yes, a little bit of knowledge is necessary, and you know that. But how much technicality? Are you as technical as the lawyer who argues this case? No, 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 no. That is not required. What is required is whether you are able to argue that how this move of abrogation has had its advantages and disadvantages in the body, because pros and cons is the topic, na? So stay true to the topic. Okay, right? Next, within the inverted commas, malnutrition is the cause of 69% deaths of children below 5, says UNICEF. Discuss the causes and the solutions. So what is happening in here? It is saying that malnutrition, that's the statement from UNICEF. So if this is a statement for UNICEF, we'll have to, it's clear, this topic is clear. Discuss its causes and the solution. So in the intro, you will talk about malnutrition. Then in the body, you will talk about the related problems of malnutrition, child stunting, child underweight, the child being underweight, anemia, all sorts of problem that is related to malnutrition. Then reduction of immunity because of lack of nutrition. You can talk about DALI, disability adjusted life years, if you know about it. If you don't know about it, don't talk about it. Okay, so this would be a part of the body, and then you talk about the solutions, how you can how the government can take steps for controlling, how the society at large can take steps at controlling, how different actors in the society can help us getting to the targets of well nutritioned childhood. So these are the things you should have in the body, and then the conclusion should follow. So understood, this is the way you would argue in this case. So if you look at these, what I am doing is that I am giving you the topic. I am giving you one alternative in which you can structure your thoughts. Let me come on the screen for this. I am giving you one alternative in which you can structure your thoughts so that it results in an effective essay. That's what I'm doing, right? You can take this path, or you can take another path if you have a better one, to create a structure that is more effective. But the idea here is that what I am again and again emphasizing, and I'm going to emphasize for the rest of the lecture also, is that structure your thought process, build your arguments. Data is secondary, arguments primary, structure, flow of thought process primary. Okay, and with the data it becomes the icing on the cake. Data is the icing on the cake, and then comes your argument, a conclusion, which connects it in one single whole. Okay, that is what I'm trying to do in you. I told you now, I was just thinking how to make it more relevant for you. So this would trigger your thought processes, your thought process. I want you to start thinking, you to write your own essays, so that on the day of the exam, whatever comes, right, you are prepared for it. Okay, my being prepared will not help you, but you being prepared is the only thing that can help you. Okay, right? It's like that only one person can help you in this, and that is you yourself. I can just show you the way, and this is the way. So just focus on this way, and let all others who are going behind sample essays, who are going behind data collection, let them go. The ultimate winner would be you if you work on yourself. Okay, right? Chalo. Next, should pollution be treated as a national emergency? Now understand, first what you need to do is, in the intro, there are two keywords here: pollution and national emergency. So intro should talk about the major effects and instances of pollution. So don't be too much focused on only one city, only one area. Yes, Delhi or NCR region is the most affected, and you can talk about it and you should talk about it, but don't only concentrate everything on Delhi. If the topic is such, if the topic is pollution in Delhi and NCR should be treated as a national emergency, or who is responsible, then your focus should be Delhi and NCR. But if this is the topic, your focus should be in generalistic in nature. Okay. So and then one line about what is national emergency, what happens in national emergency, this in the intro. Then in the body, delve deeper into, if it is treated as a national emergency, what steps should be taken, and how would it improve the chances of getting a cleaner air, or cleaner society, or cleaner environment. Okay, so talk about this and then move on towards the conclusion of the body. How is artificial intelligence going to change the way we do business? Very relevant topic. So what do we do? In these kind of topics, a lot of students tell me, sir, we don't have enough technical data. You don't need enough technical data, my friends. You see, you can talk about the day-to-day data, day-to-day gadgets, your smartphone. That has artificial intelligence apps. It itself is artificially intelligence enabled nowadays. Your Google search app on smartphone, what is it? It's an AI app. Alexa, the device Alexa, and companies are doing business with these app, right? These are day-to-day items, but companies are doing business with this. So are they not part of the business? Are they not part of the change of the business? And do you not know about smartphones? Do you not know about Alexa? Do you not know about Google search app? So how can you say that you don't have enough data? You are not looking at the right place. Okay, right? So remember, I'll give you another data. The Alia Bhatt's Nokia ad. It stores everything and maps her preferences. That the Nokia ad that came of Alia Bhatt. So everything we see ad, there is artificial intelligence going in there. Lenskart talks about that if you are choosing a what do you say, glass, it would give you a virtual reality of how that glass would look on your eyes. So what are these? These are all artificial intelligence happening in front of you. Don't need to have technical things knowing about it. How Facebook is making artificial intelligence algorithm? Sorry, boss, you don't need to know it. To write an effective essay, you don't need to know it. Right? Okay, you're not writing a technical essay. You are writing a general essay on a technical topic. So there is a difference. Okay. Next. Electric vehicles incentivization and taxing fuel run vehicles is the way forward for India. See, first talk about the issue, right? Vehicles, energy, pollution. That's an intro. In general, 6 to 7 lines, not more than that. In body, elaborate on how taxing, the increased taxation on fuel run vehicle would help, and how incentivizing the electric vehicles would help the overall scenario in pollution, in clean environment, in maybe a less costly environment, whatever, whatever the advantages come to your mind at that point of time. Okay. Next, banks should be made responsible for losses of customers due to lapses in online banking. This is a very, look at this topic. This topic, a lot of people do not read topics clearly, and they jump to conclusion themselves, and they will start, no, bank should not be made responsible, or yes, bank should be made responsible. Both are wrong. Both are wrong. Why? Because you are not giving data and arguments favoring it. Right? What should be the right way? What kind of lapses? Be clear on that. Which lapses should be accounted for, are banks responsible for? Which kind of lapses are the customer responsible for? And so talk about these things. That would show your well-informedness and non-biasedness. And then talk about overall who should be responsible, or in which case who should be responsible, and in which case another should be responsible. Okay, right? 11th, is it feasible to ban in single-use plastic in India? This is another important topic and very recent one. You see, feasibility of ban, the topic is feasibility of ban. So what is the use of plastic, or single-use plastic, or can it be replaced? Are there alternatives? These should be the focus of your topic, of your essay. Okay. Next, to make it to top 15 ease of doing business, India should focus on enforcing contracts, land administration, and land administration system. So this is World Bank has said. Comment on this. So how would you comment on this? What is ease of doing business? First you tell. Then how enforcement in the body, how enforcement and land administration is related to it. Discuss these issues. Achha, don't go on talking about ranks of other countries without relating it to the topic. It would only show you that you know ranks of other countries, but that is no consequence to the topic in hand, right? 13th, Chandrayaan 2, success or failure. Talk about the positive points, negative points first, and at the end conclude based on your arguments. Okay? Okay? Next. Yeah, you might find that, we will start with the next slide, but you might find that there is a pattern where I am repeating again and again a structure where the pattern is more or less same. Give data, build arguments, give logic, and then come with a conclusion. So this structure is more or less same. Why? But why am I repeating it for all the topics? So that your time is saved. Your time would not be saved by me giving data. I am giving a little bit of data points, but what essentially I am saving your time by is giving you a structure of thought process in which you can write. So the data would be yours, the argument would be yours, so it would be your essay, but you would be writing it faster because you now have a structure in which you can organize your thought process to write it effectively. Okay, right? So that's why I'm repeating, and that's why I'm taking this time, so that again and again you don't need to go back to these topic and think about how to write. You know how to write. If you want to follow that, you follow that and you write a effective essay. And if you have a better structure, obviously you should go on with that. Next, 14th topic. How is e-commerce affecting the traditional businesses? So talk about e-commerce, what is e-commerce, and how they are helping. Talk about how they are helping traditional businesses, as well the competitive aspects of e-commerce and traditional businesses, right? So give every angle to it. 15th, discuss the advantages and the disadvantages of the advent of so many streaming platforms. You know what are streaming platforms? I don't need to tell you about it. Netflix, Prime Video, the Hotstar, all of these are streaming platform. On 12th of November, Disney Plus would be launched. So all of these are streaming platforms. So what are the effects that are happening? So you want to talk about that, how we get content of choice in the streaming platforms. We get content without ad, right? We don't have to wait for the content. You just go forward and watch it. Quality of content has increased, and all this stuff. You can also talk about the disadvantage. The earlier ones were advantages. You can also talk about the disadvantages. Addiction, huh? Is one disadvantages. Is these affects the relationships within the family or with friends, because people have become so addicted to these streaming platforms, right? If you know about it, there is additional, your usage of Prime Video or Netflix adds to the carbon emission in the environment. If you know about it, only go forward and write it, because it will be a different point altogether. If you don't know about it, you can know about it in these 20 days and write on it. It will be a beautiful point to write about, at a very different point in the disadvantage. So you can talk about these advantages and disadvantages of the streaming platform. Then when you are discussing, you are in the conclusion, you just summarize the your discussion, your the conclusion. In the conclusion, you just summarize. You don't need, if you don't want to take a stand, you might choose not to take a stand. Discuss the ways in which digital revolution is changing the traditional media. First of all, you talk about what is digital revolution and what is traditional media, introduce them. Then talk about the opportunities in the body, talk about the opportunities of how digital revolution is affecting traditional media, what are the responsibility of traditional media, and whether it is being held by digital revolution or it is being impeded by digital revolution. Okay, so talk about these things, and the body is done. And you need to only write 150-200 words. You are done if you just only write these in an elaborated manner, in an argued fashion, and you then write the conclusion. Then the next topic, 17th, should Hindi be the national language of India? Again, controversial topic for a lot of people. But in controversial topics, remember this always. I'll repeat it again, but let me tell you that in controversial topic, if you are choosing controversial topic, be very careful. No, do not give your biases. Do not give your opinion. Give arguments. Give data, and on that you can build your conclusion. Okay, so don't start with yes, Hindi should be national language. You can say this at the end on the basis of the argument that you have provided, है ना? On the basis of the advantages that you have shared, that how it will bring all people together. If you have said that, or if you have shown disadvantages more than advantages, then you can say that Hindi should not be a national language, right? But whatever is your argument, conclusion, it should come at the end. More so, and in controversial topic, try to be non-opinion oriented, rather be data and argument oriented. Okay. Next, PMC bank crisis. First of all, discuss the reasons and way forward. That's what they. So what are the reasons, both generic and specific? With the holding the hand of PMC bank crisis, you can move forward and discuss how cooperative banks are facing crisis in general terms also. As a matter of fact, RBI is mulling a thought that cooperative banks might have to drop the word bank from them. And there are so many things that are coming in that spectrum because of these crises. So you can discuss in general form or in specific form, or both. A little bit of generic, obviously we'll talk about specifically PMC bank crisis, and then talk about the solution. What is the long term and the short term solution in terms of the how to get the in short term solution in terms of how to get the customers out of this quagmire and ensure that other cooperative banks do not get into this kind of situation. Next, 19th topic. Every time a flood or cyclone comes, we lose crores of rupees of public and private property. Apart from countless lives, whose responsibility is this? Right? Now, first of all, here, once you have in the introduction talked about different types of natural disaster, because we are talking about natural disaster. Then in the body discuss about who are the parties involved, players involved, the government, the administration, the people, then the illegal constructions, right? All of the or the businesses which do get into illegal construction, and therefore there are so many flood prone areas where the flood damage due to flood is much higher than what it would have been if they have been planned construction. So there's so many angles to it, and how each one of them affect. Okay, if you forget one or two, that doesn't matter. Even 3 to 4 players is more than enough to write a blockbuster essay of 150 word in this. You may not mention all, but the ones you mention, you should elaborate and clearly state. Okay? Then another very important topic, mob lynching. An act of aggression or an act of desperation. So if I want to myself to be true to this topic, how should I start my and how do we make it? A lot of times I have seen whenever it comes to mob lynching, people only look at the religious angle of it, right? Or only those issues which were motivated by there was a fight between two groups, and on that aspect of it. But there is another aspect of it. For example, mob lynching, thinking that people are child lifters, that was a very huge concern in Bihar, UP and parts of MP for the last 1 year. Okay, so this there was happening also. So people were taking, at the end of the day, in both the cases, where it was religiously motivated, where it was motivated by people having no information. Most of the times it was motivated by misinformation. So people were taking law in their hands. So how would you categorize it? Okay, as an act of aggression or as an act of desperation? Maybe in those areas where child lifting mob lynching happened, there were cases of missing child. I don't know, we'll have to research this out. But there were cases of missing child, and the administration did not act on it, and therefore people took law in their own hands, which is wrong. But why it is happening has to be discussed so that we can solve it, right? Okay, so you don't need to go into such detail, but I'm just giving you an idea of how to be in a particular topic, how to be not biased by one side, or how to be not biased by one narrative. Have a complete narrative, and then obviously you can take a stand that this is also an act of aggression and this is also an act of lawlessness. Obviously you can take a stand, that is not an issue, but with proper basis. Now, desalination of seawater isn't a solution, but is an act that will trigger bigger problems. Now, know a little about desalination, and that's why I have given this topic, because so that you have a knowledge about it. If you don't know about it, just surf internet, 2 articles, and you'll know about it. And you'll also know that how it is done. A little bit of technicality. You don't need to be very much technical about it. Now, then discuss why is it necessary, and for why is it necessary, you don't need any article. You can tell it, right? Water crisis, therefore you need it. Just elaborate on it, and then from how it is done and how it can create problem. So if you give these 3 points, data points, and build on them, then your conclusion, when you come with a conclusion like that, yes, it will trigger more problem, makes sense. No, it will not trigger more problems, makes sense. However, you have built up your argument. Okay. Now, the next one is ethics a luxury that only the prosperous have? Prosperous means people who are well off. Is ethics a luxury of only those people? Ethics, you define ethics. I don't think that I have to define ethics for you, but define what ethics is: being right, being good. And it's in a question form. It's a philosophical topic. It's a philosophical topic, abstract topic, and it's in a question form. So there is no yes and no to an answer. It will be depending upon how you build it up. So you have to evaluate the boundaries of the premise, right? Okay, you might give examples where you see that not so prosperous people also are so ethical, right? So you can obviously do that and build your argument based on that. Whatever your conclusion is, whether it is an yes or a no, you can build it. Next, crowdfunding is the next a new phenomenon in financing. But before I move on to how you should write, I'll tell you a little about crowdfunding. In all those topics which are a little offbeat, I'm telling you what it is, so that you have an idea about it, and then you can build up on your own basis also. You see, crowdfunding is a method of financing. Financing means to gather money, collection of funds from multiple investors via web-based platform for a definite objective. This is very important. For a definite objective, for example, I want to make a film. I put it in my Facebook handle that I want money for this film. This is my film's idea. People get interested in it and they give me money for it. There has been a lot of many films that has happened through crowdfunding mode. Mostly crowdfunding founded films have happened in Maharashtra, Kerala, right, and in Karnataka. I was watching this movie, Malayalam movie that day, and I saw that it was a crowd-funded movie. So there's so many crowd-funded movies that have come in Bengali film industry. Also, there had been some instances of crowd-funded movie, right? So that was only movie, but then it's moving ahead from movie, music, book publication, everywhere. So this is a new form of financing. Discuss how this can help, where traditional system of financing are failing these particular industries, and to propagate, and how these are propagating innovations, new thinking, etc. Talk about these stuff. Okay, obviously you'll have to need to learn a little more than about crowdfunding, which you can do by only 10 to 15 seconds on this particular topic. Discuss the salient features of the draft National Education Policy 2019. Right? Talk about what is new in this and how these new things are going to affect in short term Indian education space and in long term. And not only education space. See, whenever you get a topic like education, it not only affects education, it affects the society at large. It affects employment. If it affects women empowerment, it affects equality of men and women, everything, no? Right? So hugely big. So you can take only 2 to 3. You take to equality, education, and society, and you are done with your 150-word essay. India's influence amongst its neighbor. 25th topic. India's influence among its neighbors is slowly waning. Now, how do you discuss this? India and its neighbors. First, talk about who are in our neighbors. Then, in body, talk about what is India's direct relationship with them. What are their directions with them? If you don't know about direction with individual country, talk about as a group. For example, take recent example, the mega RCEP deal. India came out of it. Evaluate whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, right? The regional comprehensive economic partnership deal. So India came out of it. So it was a good thing. But don't focus entirely on RCEP deal, because it's not only RCEP deal. If it is RCEP deal, then focus on RCEP deal only. But it is India's influence among its neighbors. So RCEP can be an example, but not the whole soul of the topic. Okay. 26th, growth is the only answer to poverty. So link how government after government use welfare measures for growth, for alleviating poverty, whereas growth can also be a more important way of alleviating poverty, right? Or you can talk the other way around also, but in this case, think sticking to the topic, like for example, if I have growth, I have I should have equal growth, or I should have distributed growth. The growth should not happen only to the haves, it should also happen for the have nots. Okay, so talk about these stuff. And the final topic of the day, very relevant today, Ayodhya verdict, an opportunity to build communal harmony. Expected that there might be some contentious issues, and on those contentious issues, I am again going to repeat it as I have told you earlier also, that be very, 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 very data oriented, or rather data oriented, be very unbiased. Okay, talk from a perspective of a neutral standpoint, not from a perspective of a biased standpoint. Because if you're taking, either you don't pick contentious topics, and if you pick contentious topic, be sure to you have choice of not picking it. If you pick it, be sure that you are oriented towards a balanced viewpoint, right? And see the topic, such a beautiful topic, an opportunity to build communal harmony, right, which is needed for the unity of our country, for the prosperity of our country. So can we make this verdict that has come to for the ages to come a base on which we build up strong foundation of communal harmony? Okay, so build our arguments on that. Okay, so these were the essays, 27 topics. I suppose in the starting I told you 26, but these are 27 topics that you need to practice. Now we will move on to the letter writing topics. The majority of the task is done because the content building part is in essay. In letter, it's much shorter, and here rather than 2 to 3 points, you are to focus on only 1 to 2 issue, not more than that. So let's take some interesting topics in letter writing. You transferred money to your friend's account using UPI, but transaction failed as your friend's bank doesn't have UPI facility. Write a letter to the CEO of the bank to add this facility, citing some advantages of the same. Very specific. See, letter writings are normally very specific. So you talk about UPI facility, little about what UPI facility, how did it help. Obviously, you will not write to CEO of the bank that defining what is UPI, hai na? Don't do that. That shows your immaturity. You will write to the CEO of the bank that, in passing reference, you would see that, see, sir, UPI gives you this advantage, this advantage. Yes, you will talk about these advantages, but don't define UPI to CEO of the bank. That would become so immature, right? So talk about the advantages and then request him to do that, and how it would help the customer and may help them in their business too, right? Okay, next. You are working as a PO, but you want to go for higher studies. Write a letter to your manager or HR department to convince him or them, I'm sorry, here it should be them also, them grant you permission to pursue higher education. So how do you start off that, how after higher studies you would be a more valuable resource, and how coming back you would be contributing to the organization, because you are asking for leave, you are asking for permission, you are not leaving the organization. Understand that. Read the topic very carefully. This kind of topic came in one of the exams. People started writing that I want to leave the job. Arey Baba, you want to leave the job? Leave the job, give the notice period, serve the notice period, and leave the job. Why would you have to write a letter? I mean, then it would be a resignation letter rather than this kind of permission letter. Hai na? Right? So understand the topic thoroughly, clearly, and then write on it. Or it would be like that, if you are careless enough, if you don't do that, now what it shows, that if you are careless, too careless to read the topic topic and write on it, then you will never be careful enough to go into the banking sector and read all the documents that you are supposed to read and act on it, right? The moment that happens, that this kind of mistake happen in descriptive writing, you are disqualified. So always be true to the topic, always be relevant to the topic. That's the number one thing that should be in your mind. Data sabko baad mein aayega, but should be relevant to the topic. Everything should move towards the argument basis of the topic. The third one, letter to a bank. Achha, these are all letter to banks. I told you, I have taken all types or all areas from where the questions can come, so that you have enough practice. So if you're practicing these only in the next 20 days, that would be enough. Okay, for as a practice. If you want to practice more, obviously there are more practice too, and I'll refer to that also. Write a letter to the bank manager to provide separate counter for physically handicapped individuals. So first write how physically handicapped individuals face problem. First tell the problem, and then how separate counter would solve that problem. See, problem solution approach, and then requesting bank manager to have that. Okay, as a customer, So this is letter to bank. Now let's move on to letters to editor. The first letter to editor, let's see the topic. Fake news has become an ubiquitous part of social media. Ubiquitous means, it is everywhere nowadays. Write a letter to the chief editor of Right Media. Right Media is the name of the media. Having newspaper, TV channel, social media handles, they have everything, to list down ways in which right media can caution public regarding fake news. Now, this is very important. Some data has been given in this topic which you need to use in your letter, and that is the right media has newspaper, TV channel and social media handle. So when you list down ways, na, my dear friends, you use how they can use social media handle, how they can use channel and newspaper in different ways to caution public regarding fake news. Because that would show your maturity to use the data that has been provided to you and come up with a more comprehensive solution. Okay? Okay? Next. Your brother is in school and is addicted to online games, especially PUBG. You are seeing noticeable changes, negative changes in his attitude. Write a letter to the editor of a leading daily to outline the disadvantages of these games and how to avoid being addicted to them so that parents and children become more aware of this. Right. So here you see, you are requesting the editor to write on the advantages and disadvantages. You can give some example of advantages and disadvantages, but don't go into a preachy mode to the editor that you should write this and you should not write this, because you do not have all the solution. This is clear from the passage that you do not have a question, that you do not have all the solution. So you are requesting the editor that from his knowledge and experience he shares the solution with you. And so you talk about the problems, you talk about your brother problem, you talk brother's problem, you talk about other parents facing the problem, and you convince the editor on writing it by saying that there is a need of it. Right. Okay. So that is your purpose. Your purpose is not to talk about the only about the giving preaching the editor that what you should write inside the article. Remember that. Okay. In this particular topic, if there is another topic here, there it might change. Write a letter to the editor of the news outlining the reasons of why you think that solutions based on RCT method, randomized control methods, trials method, sorry, randomized control trial methods propagated by Nobel Prize winning trio may address poverty in short term but is not useful in long term. Now, this is a very technical topic. If you are choosing this topic, you should remember to be be able to be to use some technical points to argue in favor of it, because you are writing a letter to the editor. So you should say that by randomized controlled trials are solving poverty or hunger for a short time, but what about long term? Is that part of the society becoming more better? Is that part of the society becoming employed in long term? Because if they are not, then their next generation would also face the same problem. So it becomes welfare scheme after welfare scheme. Right. So you can talk about in those lines, but you need to know a little, not much, my dear friend. A lot of people are saying that we will have to know everything about RCT. Arey Baba, the Nobel Prize winning team has done so much work in that for the last 15 years, 20 years, and you are saying that you will have to know everything about it. That's not true. You know about the summary of it. Yes, that is necessary. But knowing everything about it to write 100-word letter, no, not necessary. The next segment of letters, letter to government officials. First topic, you are a big retailer specializing in selling food products. In recent times, you have noticed impurity in wholesale milk products. Write a letter to the director of SFSSAI informing the same, requesting them to conduct raids in milk processing units in and around the city. So this is the topic. So what are you supposed to, you are a retailer, right? So right, as a retailer, imagine yourself in the in the shoes of the retailer, and you're seeing the wholesale product is coming is not coming good to me. So what do I do if my product becomes impure? So you are informing the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India that, sir, act on it. Please conduct raids on milk processing units because my product is getting hampered due to it, and obviously talk about how this will negatively affect the end customer. Okay, right? Next, the conditions of road in your city. much after has deteriorated much after heavy rains in monsoon. Write a letter to the mayor of the city to repair them soon. Outline the inconveniences and public loss that this condition is resulting in. So if you look at here, your letter target is to mayor and asking him to repair it. But what should you tell in the letter so that he is motivated to act? Inconveniences of the public loss due to this condition. Okay, so if you list these, he would be more ready to act faster. Huh? Letter to government official, the last one. The area that you live in has become increasingly notorious for crimes against women. Bad lighting, ruffians means hooligans, congregating at various places. Lack of police patrolling has deepened the crisis. Write a letter to the circle inspector of your area's police station to act on it. A very relevant topic, and this is so true for a lot of places in our cities too. So write a letter. So what you do, what are the problems that the people are facing, especially women and girls of your area, and how this can be controlled, how the police can help you, right? So just outline the problems and plead and request for a action from the police. Okay, don't go into preaching the police. That's not the right way to do. You say that it is police's responsibility and therefore you should do it. I mean, you are writing as a common citizen, right? You're not writing as a boss of the police officer. If you're writing as a boss of the police officer, obviously you can do so. Letter to friends, family and seniors. Let's see in this category what are the topics. Your friend is a farmer with around 50 hectares of farm. Write a letter to your friend guiding him to take crop insurance for his crops. Give him some idea about the benefits of crop insurance. Obviously, this becomes the part. I have given a lead point inside the topic only. You might not get this lead point inside your topic in IBPS PO mains. So what will you do? You will do the same thing, but this lead point would not be there. To help you, I have given this lead point. So talk about the crop insurance, how it can help him from losses. The Prime Minister's crop insurance scheme or the weather related crop insurance scheme, right? So talk about them because you have some idea about it. You have studied them in general awareness. If you don't have a little bit of idea to say 2 lines about these things, because see, 100 words is nothing but only 8 to 10 lines at the most in the whole letter. So 8 to 10 lines, two lines for crop insurance scheme, 4 lines, a little bit of why you are writing this, and ending with a conclusion. You're done. 100 words are over. If it is 150 words, a little more, bus. That's it. Your teacher at college guided you in your career choice. Today you are successfully in that career. Write a letter to him or her thanking him or her for the advice. A very personal letter. These are all informal letters, right? Till now they were all formal letters. Till now they were all formal letters. These are all informal letters. So the format or informal and formal you will get in the letter writing class that I have referred to. But when you come to the format, we'll not talk about the format, but what inside it. You thank the teacher by saying that how you have been held by making the right choices due to him, and I'm talking about and thanking him. Last one, write a letter to your younger brother or sister who has just gone out of home to study graduation and how to take care of himself or herself away from home. This is so true for a lot of us. If you are the elder brother and you went out from home earlier, and then when your younger brother or sister went away from home, you as an elder brother or sister gave him the necessary guidance, how to deal with seniors, how to deal with people, how to deal with whatever, right? So just put that into it. If you're a younger brother, you or a younger sister, you have got those reference, right? So write it with that perspective in mind, and I don't think that I'll have to tell you data on this because you have more data on this than me. In every one of the if we go to the last one, in every one of these I have told you in addition to IBPS 2018 lecture list. So which one is that lecture? This is that lecture. Here there are more than around 40-50 topics that are there, some static, some abstract, the current topics I have already taken. I've also taken some of the static topics. If you have time beyond practicing the topics that I have just listed and you want to practice more, go on to this lecture and practice these topics. Okay, and choose and practice, choose some and practice. This will give you a great boost. You don't need to go anywhere else and start hunting for topics. There are enough topics with you now. You just need to start writing. Okay, so that was our topic. That was our do's and don'ts. That was the important lecture. Those were the important lectures. So now what you need to do is you have go ahead and ensure that first you have gone through those lectures, keep in your minds the do's and don'ts, and finally the most important thing, written or typed rather not written, typed all of these that I have given till exams, obviously following the directions that I have given in the that we have discussed in the lectures that I have referred to. Acha, in the word limit, just to make yourself prepared for half of the essays, use 150 words limit, and for letters 100 words limit. For example, if you are writing 30 essays, 15 essays 150 word, 15 essays 250 words. So you are prepared for a long long passage and a short passage too. And for letter, if you are writing 20 letters, 10 letters 100, 10 letters 150. Okay, okay. Practice with time limits in your mind. 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Time limits, do not forget about the time limits. 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Do these and then see magic would happen in your exam. Okay, right? You would create magic by yourself. So with hope that this lecture helps you in the right direction, and you are you now save your time and write and practice and make the best out of the descriptive section. That descriptive section 25 marks is not now for you to just clear the cutoff, but something where you can score. Thinking that this lecture would help you in there, I'll close today's lecture. Thank you very much, and all the best. All the best for the upcoming exams. Perform your best with full confidence. Go in there. If we are prepared, no one can stop you. Okay, take care. Thank you very much. Bye bye, and all the best.